Welcome back to the show, everybody. Let's take a look at these numbers while we roll the headlines here. Russia, Ukraine, and the EU. The war may have just gotten bigger by a lot. We'll discuss it. Don't forget about the SWIFT sanctions, and now the major U.S. banks may be facing threats because of that. We have an investor and ETF creator calling for a U.S. to ban Bitcoin. Ashish Burla, Chris Larsen, RippleNet replaces SWIFT. XRP, the chart's worst case scenario. The chart's worst case scenario may give us the best price outcome. $11 to $197. We'll get into that and so much more. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow me on Twitter at Digital Perspectives. This is not right up top here, ladies and gentlemen. It changed the handle. It's at DIG Perspectives now. So make sure you give us a follow there. I'm going to get that changed up at the top of the screen. I'm so used to saying it, but I will get it changed. Current market cap right now, $1.731 trillion, ladies and gentlemen. We're off by 3.61% this morning. Good morning. It is February 28, 2022. Bitcoin 38,000 plus, Ethereum 2,600 plus. Let's take a look at XRP right now. Lots of news this morning to get into. The page will open for us. Here it is, 73 cents this morning. 0.71 on the bottom and 0.77 on the top. We'll keep an eye on it. We have a lot to look at today, so let's get started. Right here, ladies and gentlemen, just want to let you know, heads up, Link2 has the top sellers right here. It is Ripple, Uphold, and Link2 itself, and many other great products. Make sure you check them out. Link in the description. I know they have some on there, but how long it lasts? Not very long. I can tell you that from experience. So make sure you check it out. I'll put a link in the top in the description and comment box. Cryptocurrency donations to Ukraine through the government and private channels have topped $36 million. How about that one for the Ukrainian people? Wow. Hopefully this conflict resolves quickly, but I tell you, things are moving in the way of sanctions and barring people and things of that nature. Ukrainian Vice Prime Minister is asking here crypto exchanges to block the addresses of Russian users now. We see here two different examples. Kraken CEO, co-founder Jesse Powell says that while he respects the people of Ukraine, Kraken will not freeze the accounts of Russian users unless legally forced to do so. Now, on the other side of that coin, Binance is working to comply with sanctions on Russia imposed by the Western governments following the invasion of Ukraine. So two different folds on that right there. We'll keep an eye on it. But here is what we have to worry about here at home, because SWIFT sanctions, SWIFT is controlled by the banks. The banks privately own SWIFT together, right? And the major U.S. banks are expecting retaliatory ransomware attacks following the imposition of tough sanctions on Russia for invading Ukraine. You know, this is why, you know, it's always good to have a little cash on hand. And I'm going to make sure that we do. I'll tell you that. SIB, which is the automated clearinghouse based in Portugal, has successfully moved to its technical accounts to target instant payment settlement. This is according to the source from the European Central Bank. I think it's very important to pay close attention to that kind of progress going on while we see the woes of the world happening and unfolding, and hopefully, again, that they end sooner rather than later. But this is a clip here that tells you, or at least it tells me, I believe that the war between Russia and Ukraine just got bigger by 27 nations. No, they're not sending troops in, but what they are going to acknowledge in this clip right now is that Russia itself has its nuclear division, military nuclear division, on high alert, which is a threat itself, right? But now we're going to see that the EU is going to finance and deliver weapons to the cause for the Ukrainian people.
It's important to stress that the nuclear forces of Russia has been put on high alert. I just had a VTC conference with the G7 foreign ministers, and we were joined by Minister Kuleba.
Says the G7 just had a meeting on all of this business. Keep listening.
who informed us of the latest development on the ground and the Ukraine urgent needs. And I told him very clearly, you came last week, we asked for SWIFT and we asked for arms. And now we are delivering on both sides.
So he's just told you right there that the SWIFT sanctions they delivered on because they needed to do that. And there's maybe even more to come on the side of SWIFT sanctions as well. But now they're delivering weapons to the Ukrainian people. That's 27 nations of the EU that are now participating and facilitating weapons to that conflict. It doesn't usually fall long after that you start to see troops sent to that region too. We'll see. Not to be an alarmist, but we will keep an eye on it. Now, other things that are happening in light of the SWIFT conversation that's going on with the war and conflict. The U.S. dollar, this is Brad Lone Carr, who's an investor and a creator of a couple different ETFs on NASDAQ, says here the U.S. dollar being the currency of global trade and the SWIFT system that enables it is the financial market equivalent of the U.S. Navy keeping the world's waterways free. It's why the U.S. should ban Bitcoin, he says, and any other decentralized currency that weakens this even 1%. Well, look, I understand where Brad's coming from, but the point is here is that if it's decentralized, you can't stop it. But now, listen, well, here's what we do know. You can't stop the tech, but you can legally regulate it or legislate it out of existence. And that's what I think he's talking about here. You know, the idea that we understand that China has already kicked out the miners out of Bitcoin, and now they're making cryptocurrency, Bitcoin transactions illegal as well, forcing you to go to the on and off ramp, as we have discussed many times for a long time on this channel, which is a central bank digital currency. And in China, it is the digital yuan. You know, seeing this pounding of the ground here reminds me that the EU themselves are discussing in the parliament banning proof of work and Bitcoin and mining in the EU because of the energy consumption. What happens if that happens here? It doesn't mean that you can't use or spend it, but it's going to have to be converted potentially if they continue this path. Your crypto will have to come out as either an approved stablecoin, highly regulated stablecoin, or a central bank digital currency. This is how they begin to take control of the digital world, is it not? Take a look at this. This is a reminder and just a side-by-side here from Danny McFly that says it can replace SWIFT, and the answer is it can. And in fact, it's designed to. And in just a moment, you're going to hear Chris Larsen say as much. But let's continue with the news. We have a lot to look at here. Ashish Burla chimed in yesterday and put out a thread here. In the last few days, we've seen some say Russia could potentially evade sanctions and get around SWIFT using crypto, which some of those people saying that is Christine Lagarde, from the president of the European Central Bank. He says, I outlined some of the key arguments refuting this below and a chart. He shows here, crypto is only becoming more easily trackable by software and governments, #Chainalysis. There simply isn't enough global liquidity to support Russia's needs to countries' FX needs, not individuals. On-off ramps are by and large regulated financial institutions that have to abide by OFAC laws, which we talk about FSOC and OFAC here all the time about how RippleNet and potentially XRP and the XRP ledger could get such kind of heightened supervisory, prudential, regulatory supervision. We'll see. He goes on to say here, diving into two, our team took a look at the data behind this. As stated by the U.S. Treasury Department, Russia conducts nearly 50 billion in FX transactions a day. As the largest crypto, Bitcoin's volume is usually between 20 and 50 billion a day. Russia needs would encompass Bitcoin and more. As of January 22, you could only send 200,000 worth of Russian rubles. it says here, at the time of through Bitcoin on Binance, which is versus 3.7 million through Bitcoin to USD and 2.9 through BTC to Euro on Bitstamp. So he's really breaking it down here through the chart. He says, even if you were sending 2,000 every minute, assuming the Bitcoin ruble market was resilient enough to immediately replenish the liquidity, very doubtful. You're nowhere near the 50 billion a day. Also, the total average daily volume over the last month for Bitcoin ruble was just around $11 million. SWIFT is one part of the equation here, he says. Banning some Russian banks from using SWIFT does complicate matters, but let's not forget that Russia had ample time to prepare setting up direct banking relationships in Asia and elsewhere to get around correspondence. You know, one thing I did notice in here, and I'm going to just give that to you very quickly here, is this, and I actually have it out of place, but I want to put it here because it's where it belongs, is thank you to Ashish Birla. So we know Bitcoin can't solve the problem. However, I did notice that he never said RippleNet and all their banking partners that can offer liquidity and utility to the network, plus the use of XRP, couldn't. Did you notice that too? Because I did. DAI says right here, in all my life, I've only heard one company ever claim their goal is to replace SWIFT. Only one. All the money. That's right. And it's Ripple, baby. And here's a clip of Chris Larsen talking with Michael Arrington about exactly that. Take a listen.
Rather than being an internet system. So we need that internet of value to be developed. And that's what we spend our time working on, is a replacement for SWIFT and correspondent banking. How do you get all of the payment providers, all of the wallets onto ILP? And then how do you use XRP as on-demand liquidity so that all of these providers don't have to keep balances all over the world because the process is so inefficient? We think that's the winning kind of killer app. And
there you have it. And it is the winning killer app because, again, you know, it's really about this right here. The side-by-side here. Now, I know there's 11,000 institutions, but 300 plus financial institutions on RippleNet are also some of the same institutions from this group right here. I think a merger, acquisition, or some kind of collaboration happens sooner than we could imagine, probably. It certainly seems inevitable. Just like we know this from Hassan Al-Ananzi right here, it reminds us, yes, XRP can replace SWIFT. We hear Chris Larsen tell us, as Brad Garlinghouse has told us too, that is the goal. Just as SWIFT replaced Telex back in the day. Get some of that. It's an evolution, folks. It's an evolution as much as it is a revolution from within. Anders L says it really well here, just like we talk about it on the channel. The way I see it, RippleNet can easily be sanctioned. Can easily be sanctioned. We talked about this. FSOC, the U.S. Treasury, OFAC, the foreign sanction side, OFAC, FSOC, the domestic side of the financial system. These are prudential regulators connected to the Treasury, as I know that most of you know. I don't think they could do much about countries wishing to use XRP as a bridge asset independent of RippleNet, similar to how you can't stop countries dealing in physical gold. Am I wrong? To David Schwartz, I don't think he is. David hasn't answered or seen it as of yet. But a reminder here from Michael Nardilio here. It says, Ripple offers seamless integration with your bank's existing systems and processes such as anti-money laundering controls, fraud detection, sanction screening, and regulatory reporting. They're already poised to serve at this level of heightened prudential supervision. That's what we know. Let me tell you what else we know here. Dark Defender put out a survey over the weekend and says, who wants to know the worst case scenario? And a lot of people did. So he's given it to us here. He said, most of you wanted to see the worst case scenario for XRP. So we take a look at the charts. He's going to break it down. Considering a grand cycle structure, XRP second grand wave can hit the lowest Fibonacci level of 22 cents precisely. He goes on to say, the greater the pullback, greater will be the third wave. XRP targets $11 to $197 after the storm. That's what we're talking about here on the charts. And if you take a look here, wave 1 here, wave 2, and the pullback, which could go all the way back down into this 22 cent range here, considering wave one, he says, off of wave one and a pullback. It doesn't mean it has to come back to that level, but it could. He says 47 cents is the intersection of the multi-year support with Fibonacci level and is the strongest support for XRP. So it could come down and touch 47 and never come back to the 22 cent range, right? But again, the greater the pullback, as he said, the greater the upside on the greater the arm or leg of leg 3 will be, which could put us somewhere between $11 and $197. Now, you don't know where these things go, but I tell you something, I do appreciate Dark Defender, Coins Kid, and so many other technical analysts that we rely on to see what the up and downside is of the charts. And, you know, as this conflict continues, and I hope it doesn't for much longer and they find a resolution, one thing I can really tell you is this, and I hope that there's a resolution in that war and it's over while we're talking. But one thing I can say is the narrative of SWIFT and the sanctions and cryptocurrency as a workaround will be a narrative that will not go away, and it will have to be dealt with. They cannot avoid it as a conversation anymore, regardless of war or not. That's going to do it for me. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe, leave a comment below, and share with somebody you know. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Check out all the links in the description box in the comment section. Great products and services I use each and every day, and I'll catch all of you on the next one.